Hey guys, it's Ellen. Welcome to my channel. And it's Friday. You know what that means? Floral Friday. We're working on a fun little snowdrop flower design. Kind of in the bokeh style. It's kind of crazy haphazard way I do this, but you know, that's how I work. I go over this step by step. I show you how to draw this. If you're a Patreon member, you can download the traceable. This is just another fun, easy way to do the bokeh kind of style. We're going to be using masking fluid, and we're going to splatter paint again, removing paint, all that kind of fun nonsense. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. Also, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And if you haven't hit that bell notification button, hit that bell notification button to know my tutorials are up. Like I said, if you're a Patreon member, you could download the traceable. Patreon is a place where you can see ad-free videos. You can get traceables, exclusive tutorials on Thursdays, and a live stream once a month from me, as well as a download. Check it out right up here. Boop. It's just a place people go and support my channel, which I appreciate so much. Anyway, I'm going a little crazy, so let's get started. Okay, guys, to get started, let's just teach you how you can draw some of these snowdrops. They're pretty simple. You know, if you can draw a teardrop, you can probably draw this. And if you can draw a line or a circle, you can draw this. So basically, let's think of like a teardrop with a hat. Okay, so you're doing like a half circle, but maybe it would make it a little bit longer. And then from this circle, we're gonna cut it in half. Well, a half circle. We're gonna cut it in half. We're gonna go like this, curve down and bring it back. Curve down and bring it back. Now you might make them not as like big as this. You might make the little hat a little bit longer. And then the little teardrops can go curve and point and then come back, down and point and come back, and then you get one in here. And then you got to have the little stem, and then on the stem there's like a little piece like this where it's just kind of popping out from the ground, and then down below you would have little leaves, you know. So you just do a bunch of these like this. You can do ones that are not open, again with a little hat, and they could be like half open, see, just like that. You know, have another one, little hat, really open, just like that. And that's pretty much it. That's the little snowdrop. Okay guys, to start with, to go over my supplies, I have my piece of Arche 100% cotton cold pressed paper. This is a 7 by 10 inch piece of paper that I have my sketch on of my snowdrops. I just kind of taped it down in place on a piece of cardboard. Do whatever tape you use. We'll be working with the masking fluid, so I have a PBO masking fluid here. Just a little cheap old little palette thing. I'm going to put the masking fluid in because you don't want to keep it open. It will dry it out. And a crappy little brush to use the masking fluid. My palette with my paints in them, as always, I go over them as I use them, and I have them in the description box. And paper towels, I'll be working with my Princeton 8 long round. I'll be working with the maybe the Princeton 10 Neptune series. Also, water jars are up here. So if you have masking fluid, you don't want to leave it open the whole time you're using it. Don't shake it up, by the way. I just use these little wells here and just pour a little bit in here, and it just doesn't dry up. You don't want to have it dry up. And I don't use a great brush, but I need a brush that's going to have like, that is basically an old watercolor brush so that I can get the finer details. They do have masking fluids that are like pens. I haven't used them. I have to try some of those. And so we're going to mask in the snowdrop, the white, the whole snowdrop part, because the background and even the stem of it, we're going to play around with bleeding color, kind of like a bokeh look. So you're going to go over all your little snowdrops, just like that. Go down with the stems, and we'll go back in and we'll fill them in. So you're just taking a little brush, you're just filling all this in, and you're gonna have to let this dry before you can do anything. Also, another tool that I use to pick up the the wonderful masking fluid is a rubber cement pickup. I have links to all this in my description box, by the way. It's like $4 on Amazon or something like that. I've used them in college for rubber cement, and so they're really great and easy to use for the masking fluid. So I'm not going to show you how I'm painting this. I'm just showing you how I just fill it in. But we're just doing the whole snowdrop and then the stem, and then we're going to come back in and we're going to paint the background and have fun. All right. Okay guys, so once that's all done, once you've masked in all the snowdrops and some of the stems and some leaves down here, now we're going to play with color in the background. Okay, so I've got my Princeton tint. I mixed up some colors already. I mixed up a green here with these two colors, 50-50. I just put some water and put some burnt umber here and this ultramarine. We're going to be playing around with making colors. I might take some more yellow here and some more of this peacock blue, make it more like turquoise, just like that. And I can add a little more yellow over here, make it a little limey green. So we're just going to play around with putting in color. So I'm going to grab my number 10 brush. Just going to put some water kind of all around the snowdrops. Just having fun today. Sorry if my voice sounds a little nuts. It's still the Rona in me. I'm totally fine. Just, you know, how it sounds. So here I'm going to just put some water down. You can see the sheen. We have the water all around the snowdrops. I can start playing with bleeding in water. Bleeding in paint. I've lost my mind. So I've got the ultramarine blue here. I'm just taking the actual color itself, watered it down, as you can see. I'll be adding in some peacock blue and that green. Just having fun. I'll take some Prussian blue, kind of bleed in some of that. I've got this green again here. I'll add some more yellow. Playing around with it. I don't want to make it too light because I want to have the leaves from the snowdrops kind of really highlighted. So I'm grabbing some Prussian blue. See, I'm just bleeding all this stuff around. Get some more ultramarine blue and that turquoise, really pretty turquoise. This is peacock blue. It's really like almost like a turquoise. Add a little yellow to that. Make it a nice turquoise color. And I love this. You can play around with moving the color around like this, lifting up a paper, adding some more water and moving it around. It's very wet, so I'm going in and adding more color here. And some more yellow up this way. My yellow's getting kind of messy, but that's okay. Some light green up this way. This is where you can be really creative. It doesn't have to be these colors. I talk about this all the time. Do whatever you like. You can do hot colors. You don't have to do these pretty green, blue colors. I don't want people to feel like they have to follow everything. It's just to give you ideas. Kind of removing some of the color too. I want a little bit lighter back here. So I'm cleaning off my brush, tapping on the paper towel and lifting up some of this color on the edges. And going back and adding more color. Ultramarine blue, Prussian blue, yellow, green, a little burnt umber, and darker down here. Putting it around some of these snowdrops. I'll keep doing this till I feel like I'm getting where I want it to be. Till I feel happy. So I'm going to make a nice deeper green. the beauty when you put the masking fluid down. You can just really just kind of play with color, where it's going, how it's looking. Put some browns down here because it's going to be grounded more down here. So add the burnt umber, maybe a little yellow to that. My yellow's getting a little nuts, so I'm going to clean that up. A little messy. Don't do what I did. There we go. Maybe add a little red to get that not so yellow brown. Let's see. It's a little dry down here, so I'm just going to kind of push some brown around because that would be the ground area. And I'll go back up in here. I'll play around with adding these colors. It was a lot of fun to play around with the color. Now when it's still damp, I'm going to do some bleeding with the gouache, which I find so much fun to do that. All right, playing around with a little more blue up here. Ultramarine. Deeper, darker in here with the Prussian. Oh, a little neutral tint. Get it even darker. Very mysterious. Why not? You can even splatter some of the color. See where that goes. Not too much, you know. Don't want to make a mess. I'm just going to go, and you can, like I said, move the color around like this, paint, and lift up this. I'm going to just, you can take a paper towel, kind of wipe the edge if you're not happy with it. Just lift it up. I'm going to kind of just soften the edges here. See, I'm grabbing some water on my brush, paper towel close by, and just kind of push it around, soften it up. Adding a little more blue. And some green. I really want it dark around the snowdrops because they're white. And so if it's too light around them, it's not going to really show up. Right? Some green. Kind of bleeding all this good stuff. Some more blue. Flip this back upside down. Have it bleed this way. Ooh, the fun. And this way. This one's just kind of like running around the course. And I'll just clean that up. So you kind of want to do all this so you get the color that you're looking for. Like I said, you want to make them kind of dark around where the snowdrops are, just because it will show up better. So nice deeper green. Get that Prussian blue. Grab some yellow. Grab some yellow and make that really deep green. Just kind of bleeding that around where the snowdrops are. Take some burnt umber too. All this good stuff. So now what I'm going to do now is take some of the gouache that I have, just like I did with the bokeh for the Christmas. We're going to splatter in here and see, because it's all nice and damp now, what happens with this guy. Putting some much darker colors in here. Again, around this. Just want to highlight. Okay, so clean up our brush. Now that it's nice and wet, gonna loosen up some white gouache. Just like we did before. And we'll see what happens. I'll play around with this. It's doing its repelling, which is what I wanted to do. All the good stuff. Shh. See that spider kind of repel? So this is super wet right now. We're gonna have to wait till it completely dries before we go in any further. And see, it's kind of like doing that. Shh. You could take some actual gouache itself too and just kind of place it too. Oh, I love it. The little spider. When it gets a little bit drier, you can, it's really wet right now. I might take a smaller brush, do this, my Princeton 8. Little teeny tiny ones. As it's drying, see what happens. It's giving it that mysterious quality. You can see it already, right? Which we love. And love to play with the paints. You could try the acrylic ink also if you don't have gouache. Those are super fun. Okay, so once it's dry, we take our trusty, remover. This is the fun part. We can remove all those little marks. Now they're white, so I'm going to take my Princeton 8 long round brush. So it's going to be white, but we want to put some grays in this. So I've got this neutral tint. I'm going to water this down a fair amount. I'm going to grab some of the peacock blue and mix it with that too. I might even have ultramarine over here as a color. But really the neutral tint, it's a bluish purple kind of gray. We're going to go in, excuse me, zoom in so you can see. And we're just going to start to do some of the shadows. Take the tip of the brush under the cap. If you see my arm moving away, it's because I'm tapping the paper towel because there's too much water on there's too much paint. I'm trying to just take it away. Slowly taking this tip and bringing the paint down. You see how I'm doing that? I'm going to grab some more water and kind of blend it. And then in here, same thing. See? Keep it mostly white. I won't do the inside one until these two are dry. So I'll go and show you the half one. Again, just getting under there, just kind of pulling the paint downward. Not the whole entire part of the pod of that little petal. Just keep showing you. It's moving like this. And if it's too much paint, you kind of lift it up and tap it on the paper towel. It's like a shading with the paintbrush. And we can go back and grab a little, with the tip of this, a little more of the neutral tint, a little bit darker. See, just the tip of the brush, just a little bit darker. See, I'm grabbing just a little bit, I'm blending that. Go under the cap like that, and you'll see that in here it will be even darker. And the one that's underneath. Just grabbing a little bit dark. It's a little too darker than I wanted to do, but you get the idea. Now for the cap, mix that bright green that I had before. I'm gonna fill that in. Grab some more yellow actually. Make it even brighter. It's a really bright green. And you can take the same color and go on the stem all the way down. And the little little kind of like leaf sticking out right there. So you're going to take that color and do all these caps and stems with this bright green. And you could take the darker greens that you mixed up. I had some from before. I'll put some down here so you can see. It's a darker green. See, it's still wet, and this one's bleeding into the little drop. So I'm gonna have to wait till this dries a little bit. You can start to bleed in some of the darker greens as they kind of crisscross down here. Not too much though. You want to keep it still bright green, so that you can see it against that backdrop. You know, you want to really see it. So when these little snowdrops dry, go back in with the gray again, a little bit deeper. Maybe want to add a little blue. I'm tapping on paper towel because it's just so wet. I want it a little drier. That's a little bit darker than I wanted, but it will dry lighter than that. Just going to go right into that center there and bleed in a deeper color. So those other two little pods get highlighted just on the edge. And then you're going to go right into the center again here. That green just kind of bled in there. Bad green. Just a little bit under here where it's meeting the little hat. Don't want to fuss it too much. You may want to add a little blue down in here, a little blue in there. Just here, just add like a little touch of the blue on the edge here and there. And then you can go back in here and just put a little shadow color. If you want to make that little grayer, and those ones pop out more. Don't be afraid to keep getting a little bit darker too, because you want it to have like, you know, you want it to make sense. And then a little gray here. So that's what you're going to do with the snowdrops. You're going to go back into all these little snowdrops. See? Pretty much all the same. I'm going to go back in here. Add a deeper color in this one, the background. It's going to get a little bit darker. See, add like the neutral tint almost right out of the tube. Still want to keep that light, but you want it darker than this one. Now you can just add a tinge of blue on the bottom here. I'm still keeping that part white. And then with the greens, a little hat. Just get a little bit darker here and here. Just put a little dark here. This is going to take a little time. If you want to start in the middle of this one, so this one's darker in the middle, you can start with that. If that makes me feel comfortable doing that first. Can add a little blue to this one. Adding a little darker bleed. So you can see like this is shading. You can just add a little blue to this one. And on the edge here. They're glowing. And this one too up here. Do the inside part first. This one should be dry. I can go ahead and do the inside part darker. See how it's highlighting that? Go down a little bit there. If you want to get a little bit darker, go and do that. And it just pops right out. See? A little bit darker. Bam! Sound effects and all, guys. Same thing with this one. Just do that little line. Get that little shade in there. Take some of the blue. You don't want to just be all like the neutral tints. You want to put some little blues in there just to change it up a little bit. We talked about. And then we go in and fill it all in. So I'm going to fill this in and come back. Okay, guys, so once you filled in like your shadows and most of that lime green, you're going to go in and just tweak it with the darker greens. So I've got some dark green here, mixing in some burnt umber. So you can put some deeper, darker lines next to this green. Make it more realistic. You can take some deeper greens here. I have over here some darker greens up here. Put in some grasses going over this. Just make it look a little more natural. It's, you know, underneath where the crossover of the other stems, you should put little, I'll show you close. So this is crossing here and it's crossing here, and underneath here you obviously would be a shadow underneath there. Just little tweaks. And then of course in here, putting in some darker tones. Just taking the tip of the brush. Otherwise it's kind of look fake. You know, we don't want it to look fake. Again, there's a shadow. This is behind this. I'll put in the line here. More like that. Grabbing some darker greens, putting a little shadow here. Put some on the stem itself, just so it looks a little more realistic. You know, you can just kind of wash in some of this dark green too. See, I'm grabbing some water and mixing the paint around, just going really quickly. Just kind of going over that. Sound effects, and grab some more yellow greens. Go out this way. Just want it to look a little more realistic. It was looking a little goofy, so you kind of just fill it in. Get some dark color in here. So it makes more sense, you know. It wouldn't be that bright. Like this one right here. You would go back in and fill in some of that. Could add some burnt umber. Like I'm doing this right here. Add some burnt umber and some neutral tint. Little wasps of grass like that. Over here on the bottom. Take it, go on the side a little bit, like it's dirt. So we're just finessing this whole area here. I'm adding it. You can go back into like around where these snowdrops are and add some colors. Don't be afraid to do that, please. Go add some more greens. Go around playing, adding some greens, just filling that all in. Oops, I don't know if you saw that, but up close, you see, make it look a little more realistic. I'm going to add a little neutral tint in here. It's kind of in between. Now at this point, you can go back in again, and we can splatter some of the gouache. Let's see how this is going to look. I might not like it. kind of right where the snowdrops are. Yeah. I feel like this kind of look a little goofy, but we can play around with that. And you could splatter in some of the bright greens too. You're not really seeing so much. It looks all like this one note, this green. So I'm going to go back in. That's why I stand up. You hear me standing up? It's always good to stand up and look back. So I might just go in and add some darker color, blues, greens. Just kind of like weed out the ones that look kind of strange. You know? We don't want it looking too weird. Yeah. You can highlight some of the other ones. Go back in here and add some darker color. And be playing around with that in between. Also, guys, if you feel like it's kind of dark and you want to add some more bokeh, take like a rough kind of like craft brush. You can kind of just make like little circles, lifting it with water. See that? And lift it up. And you got the circles like that. And you can kind of go over the areas that you painted. Right? And you got that, you can make them bigger or smaller. So you can go like a real big one here. Just lift up the paint. See? Then it becomes more the mystical, magical. See, I'm just doing a circular motion, just circles. And then you got that magical circle bokeh kind of look. Just keep going around with the water, and you lift up the paper towel. Just something you can do to try and remove. If you find areas you want lighter, you can do that. See, I'm going back in. It has to be like a little bit of a rough brush though, because you don't want to use your nice watercolor brushes for this. No, sorry, my camera keeps moving. I'm hitting the thing that holds the camera. You see that? And you got the magical bokeh snowdrops. I keep hitting the camera. I'm sorry. So that's what you do until you feel like, oh, did I do it right? Did I like it? Do I like it? Just like that. It becomes this little magical bokeh look. Snowdrop. And a little bit darker in here, so I'm going to go and lift that up. Yeah. Just play around with that. You know, you can go up in here. It's good to stand up like I'm doing to see the areas that you want lifted. Sometimes you don't know. Sometimes you just... Don't be afraid to do it right next to the white area too. Yeah, so just keep playing and keep playing and keep playing until you feel like you've got it right where you want it to be. See, I'm lifting those areas. And lift a little bit over here too. Circular motion. And it's become a magical snowdrop. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. I hope you guys enjoy this tutorial. It's a little kind of crazy, nutty tutorial today. That's just my life right now. That's who I am. I'm being real, guys. I'm going to go keep adding a little. Lift it. See? Just keep lifting it. Voila. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And if you haven't hit the bell notification button, please do so. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. I hope you enjoy this, and take care, and I'll speak to you soon.